So one of the cars that I want to introduce everybody to is just a neat story. It's a neat backstory, but it's also a really great car to share with you because we have a lot of documentation. In fact, I think in Graveyard Cars history, this is probably the most documented car we've ever done. And the people that we're doing it for are the original owners. So this is the husband and wife that bought the car in 1968. It is a 1968 Plymouth GTX 440 Super Commando 4-speed car, which makes it just ultra rare. Paint code S, so it's a yellow car. It's got unusual interior, which I'll show you in a little bit. What I love the most about it is the car is pure and original as the day is long. More importantly even, we have all the documentation like I mentioned. We have the original Monroney sticker. This is the window sticker. So when you guys go now and buy a new car and you walk the Dodge dealership for your Challenger SRT8 Red Eye, you'll see a window sticker in there. That window sticker tells you everything the car is optioned with. All right, it even has an MSRP, manufacturer's suggested retail price, and it's tied with a vehicle identification number. They did the same thing back in the day. It was mandatory. We have that original document. We have the original warranty card, the quality assurance checkpoint cards for like the water leaks, for the paint prep. We have the key codes, the original key codes, sales invoices from the dealerships. We even have the worksheet for it. Again, the most documented car in our history. So I wanted to take a few minutes, go around the car, and show you what it would have been like back in 1968 to walk on the dealership floor and see the Monroney sticker, the window sticker in the car, and match it up to the rest of the car.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Buried deep in the Pacific Northwest, one team in Springfield, Oregon, takes on the impossible, finding dead Mopar muscle and bringing it back from the grave. Award-winning master of Mopar, Mark Worman, his cousin Doug, his daughter Alyssa, his best friend Royal, his painter Will, and the rest of the GYC ghouls are restoring, resurrecting, and recreating some of the fastest, fiercest, and rarest muscle cars on the planet. This is Graveyard Cars.
Now, the last time we worked on a 1968 GTX, the gentleman's muscle car, was Mr. Bill Goldberg. That was the time he came in here and he was pushing me around in the office. I don't know if you remember that. Playing tough guy on me. And we don't show it because I don't want the liability of it, but I took care of things my own way that time. So go ahead and roll that back, that's fine. His little car was a 68 GTX 444 speed convertible in QQ1 blue. Gorgeous car. Now, keep in mind, they only made 375 of those cars, so his is a real rare one. His was not, however, fully documented. It was a numbers matching car, and it was a great car. I think it was one of the very first Mopars he's ever owned.
There's a long, sordid tale about this car. I bought it, and then somebody approached me. They really wanted the car bad, paid me a good amount of money for it. Fast forward about 2 years after that sale, I heard that the guy was keeping it outside. So I kind of went behind his back and had my wife go buy it out from under him. Funny story there is she pulls up to the stoplight, and she's sitting there idling, and all of a sudden, a family of mice run out the car. So needless to say, it wasn't being kept the way it should be kept. First Mopar ever had, yeah. Means a lot to me.
But he didn't have the window sticker. He'd love to have the window sticker. The other thing about his car is his was pretty plain. He wanted that car to have manual steering and manual brakes, and it did. Made it a handful to drive, but of course, if you're Bill Goldberg, what the heck? You got the arms to do it with. This little car is actually loaded. All right, so the first thing I want to do is go over the original Monroney sticker. This is what you call the window sticker. It talked about what the car was, what it came standard with, what the safety standard features were, and what options it had, and how much it cost. So let's just start at the top. We know by looking at this is a factory Chrysler Plymouth window sticker. In the left-hand upper corner, we got Lynch Road Assembly Plant. That's where the car was built at. That's G code. And on the right-hand side, we identify this piece of paper with the car by using the vehicle identification number. After that, we're talking about where was this vehicle shipped to? It was shipped to Monmouth Chrysler Plymouth Inc. in Eatontown, New Jersey. Same place that it was sold to. So there is your selling dealer. So the folks that own this car walked into that dealership and saw this setting on Monmouth Chrysler Plymouth's showroom floor or on the car lot.
So today I'm getting ready to do the jam work on the inner structures of the 1970 Challenger RT 440 6-pack 4-speed car for Mark. One thing that we've learned is when you cut these quarter panels off, that's the time to get in there and do the sound deadener, because when they're on the car, you can't get it all the way down like factory did. So when the body man has it completely cut apart, we're able to go and do sound deadener from front to back, paint it from front to back, so when the quarter panels are installed, those hard to reach spots, they're already covered. So it's just a matter of going in and doing touch up where they welded. So when I do the jam work, we get in there while that car's apart. We get the Dutchman, the inner and outer wheelhouse, the trunk floor extensions, the little tension rods that are in there. We'll also do inside the cab and the rear body panel. Any part that you can get on the back side of that car while it's apart, we get it then. So I notice on this particular car, we're painting it TX9 black. But if you were to go back and look at the fender tag, it's supposed to be EV2 Hemi Orange. And the problem that I have with this is over the years, Mark has what you would call kind of sold out. He has always been 100% OE, that's all we do. We don't, if it's not OE, it's butcher. And I'm sure you can go back to footage to see him quote that.
We restore cars to original equipment specs. These cars are not customs, they're not modified. No chopping, channeling, or aftermarket parts are used. To set in motion a car's future, we have to dig up its past. We're hunting down history. We're turning over rocks and we're following urban legends. We'll travel to the ends of the earth to find the right parts for these cars.
But I've noticed as he's gotten older, it's whoever's got the most money. So if you look back to Samuel L. Jackson doing those great movies, and now he's doing like Capital One commercials because they pay him. So pretty much at this point, you know, we'll bring in Vegas and Novas and Camaros and whatever's gonna pay him, we're gonna end up doing.
Oh, I'm a sellout? That's gold, Jerry. Gold, Jerry. He's out of his mind. I am not a sellout. You never see me doing that. I brought a car back from the dead. I fulfilled a dream, and I did it all while having a blast. Well, and getting paid for it. You know what I'm saying? Bunsen burners, nice little earners. Coin. Bunsen burners. Nice little earners. Cash. Ka-ching. Because a guy wants to change the color of his car, a non-numbers matching car, he wants to go from a orange to a black, what do I care, right? I don't do it because they pay me extra money on it. It's their car, all right? Yeah, I don't tell you how to dress.
In this case, with Mr. Cash is King saying paint the car black, that's great. It covers quick, it's an easy color to spray, it's just the car's gotta be perfect.
It's just so ridiculous that he would say I'm a sellout all because the guy wants to change the color of his car. He's the one that is a walking billboard. Just check him out sometime. Even watch him walking around here. Watch him in the break room. Everything is a chance to do a #1 drink. You don't see me doing that. Pull his pants down and see what underwear he has on. I bet you there's some kind of a brand name on the underwear. I don't follow the same sites he does, so I won't ever see that, but I'm just saying, you know, I don't know if you can leave that in there. I don't really care, okay? This is my 15th season, all right? I pretty much do what I want. And cut that out, too, because if the network sees it, they're gonna get mad.
People send me nice clothes all the time, and I like to wear some of them. But that doesn't mean I'm a sellout. That just means I like to wear nice stuff.
That is just not true, all right? Go take a look at his Instagram page. Go look at his stuff. He actually had our paint gun company etch a picture of his daughter onto his paint gun so he could promote it. That's desperation. That is low. That's something you won't see the Iceman doing. I am not the sellout.
Isn't this your gun?
Oh, yeah, no, it's not my birth name. So Iceman, that's true. But I mean, I'm Mark Gregory Warman, right? You don't see a picture of me and my baby, Mark Gregory Warman, written there. That's Iceman, that's for, and where did you get this? Why don't you stay out of my office? Iceman. What's the question again? Back to our 1968 GTX. Let's talk about the standard safety features. They're listed over here on the right-hand side. You start at the top and you can go right down through there. Every one of those were standard. You didn't pay any extra for them. This large area at the top, before we get to sales codes, is what you're buying. This is what it comes with without any extras on it. It's got the RS23. That means that it's a GTX. SS1, that's the yellow. That's the paint code. Actually comes up at S when you're looking it up in the paint book, and it's called yellow. You see it's yellow. So the S6N, the Sam 6 November, that's the interior trim code, which is really cool on this car. I can't wait to show you. Check out the two-tone, I'm gonna call it a gold. You know I'm a little colorblind and I don't know what the camera's gonna do. Two-tone gold with these black highlights in it. Absolutely gonna be so stunning when it's done. And you'd think a black interior. You think, oh, yellow car, black out, black stripes, black top, why not a black interior? It's one of the things that caused the guy who bought it brand new almost not to buy the car. And then after he looked at it a couple times, it grew on him. C'est la vie, the rest is history. He's had it for 53 years now. After that, we see that it's a GTX. The following equipment is standard. So it has the rear armrest with the ashtrays, dual horns, vinyl trim. That means the interior is vinyl, not leather. Front foam seat cushion. They were pretty proud of that back in the day. Bucket seats. Bucket seats were standard on a GTX because this was a gentleman's muscle car. 440 cubic inch 4-barrel engine, that's the Super Commando, with a TorqueFlite automatic transmission, standard. That means that the 4-speed manual transmission that's in this car was optional. Red Streak tires. This would be a Red Streak tire. Now you saw those on our 1969 Hemi Roadrunner. You saw them on that. You saw it on our 69 Cuda A57 car. It has red streaks on it. This car also did too. Heavy-duty rear springs, that's the Hemi suspension. Heavy-duty torsion bars, part of that Hemi suspension. Sway bar, heavy-duty shock absorbers, heavy-duty brakes, 70-amp alternator battery, and ashtray light. Okay, those are all standard on it. 83, this top one here, Super Commando, so it's got to call out the engine. And you see there's no money next to that engine. That's because that's standard. 291, which is a solid paint. Sales code 311. That is our body side accent stripe. Standard, no price for it, on GTXs. That's this one right here. These were available in black and white, depending on what they were. In this particular case, it says black. The other cool thing about that is they're reflective. So if you were to hit that with a light, they reflect. It's also a safety feature as well as a really cool feature.
So one of the last things that we do to these cars, especially in the case of the Phoenix Cuda, is the cut and buff. You know, we get it in the booth, walk around the car, look for all the imperfections, and then we'll start by long blocking it with 800. It just gets that little wobble out of it that Mark really drives him crazy. Then after we get the 800 long block done, we'll go to 1200 on a DA, and then we'll go to 2000 and then 3000. And doing the finer grits like that, as long as you're getting all the previous grits out, it just buffs like butter. So we'll get the whole car buffed, wiped down, cleaned up, so when it comes over to assembly, the car looks good and it's ready to be put together. And when I didn't have a helper, I would have to do the cut and buff, the undercoating, all that little stuff. It takes about a week or two to do. And when I was doing that before, that means everything else stops in the shop. So having somebody that can do that means I can keep working, getting other things painted.
In a very special previous episode of Graveyard Cars, we finished restoring this beautiful 1970 Plymouth Superbird tribute car. We unveiled it at SEMA. Featured the 707 horsepower Hellcrate Hemi. It started life as a real Roadrunner. What engine did it start life with? Was it 383, 446 barrel, 426 Hemi? If you watched the episode and you remember, shout out your answer. I'll let you know how you did. All right, folks, welcome back. How did you do on that one? Our world famous Hellbird, 1970 Plymouth Superbird tribute car. What engine did it start life with? If you guessed 383, good job. I don't think I would have ever cut up a 446 barrel or a Hemi car to make a tribute. But that was an original 70 Roadrunner we got from Tony D'Agostino at Tony's Mopar Parts. It was in rough shape. It was a perfect candidate. In addition to the Hell Crate engine, we put a Silver Sport 6-speed manual transmission, Mosier Dana 410 rear axle, and to this date, it is the fastest car we've ever built. Let's check the codes, the sales codes for the options, and see if they're still on the car. 306, that's our vinyl top in black. All right, if you look next to it, they charge $81.60 if you wanted a black vinyl top. Just to put that into perspective, the material alone today is around $350 for a good vinyl top, and it's about $600 to install it. You can see there's remnants still of our vinyl roof. If you look carefully, it's the original grain pattern too. Doesn't take, Einstein to figure out that this top's been on the car a long time. You can just tell by how weathered it is, how brittle it is. See how that just kind of crushes up? But it matches the 306. But it really sets off the side of the GTX, especially against that yellow. The next one, 393, the 4-speed manual transmission. You see that there's no price there? That's what's weird. If you're sitting at home and you're saying, wow, it's a 4-speed car and that's got to be the rarest in the world. Well, in this particular make and model, GTX 440, the automatic transmission was standard. The 4-speed costs money. In the rest of the world out here, 4-speed cars are worth more money, typically speaking, because they made a lot fewer of them in a given model. In this case, 9,771 4-speed models of the GTX were made in a hardtop with the 440, while only 6,902 automatics, which was standard. But to flip the script even more than that, if something is standard like an automatic transmission, I get it. There shouldn't be any extra charge for the automatic transmission, and there's not on this window sticker, as you'll see. But when it calls out the 4-speed, there's no money charged for that. Yet it's an option. So why was that option free? The 408 Sure Grip differential, that means positive traction, as Marissa Tomei would say, and my cousin Vinny, right? Both tires spin. After that is a AM radio that they charged $61.55 for back in the day. AM radio, you had to pay for it. Today, I don't even know if you can get an AM radio. Rear seat speaker, hallelujah, $14.05. One. See, it's not plural. One speaker in the rear and a little fader knob that you can move from the front to the back. Take a look at that thing. Two things that are interesting. One is, why did they only put one speaker in the back of these cars? You can see they ordered speakers, but you only got one. Notice the direction this speaker goes. The oval goes this way, left to right. You go over to the passenger side, and the opening for the speaker that they don't even offer goes front to rear. It's lengthwise the other direction. And I'm not positive, but I believe the reason for that, you could have had a rear defroster in this car, and the rear defroster blower would have bolted into that position over there. Power steering was not standard even on the gentleman's muscle car. Right here in black and white, 456 sales code was $94.85. There it is. This is your power steering pump. It didn't have to have that. It's an option still. And somebody did click that option. And believe me, if you've ever driven one of these cars with manual steering and power steering, it was worth $100, I promise. Can you turn the wheel all the way to the left for me? All the way to the left. Keep going, yep. All the way, we want to check it.
Isn't it all the way?
No, it's got a lot further to go. It's almost impossible to steer it with it sitting still, and it took her a little bit to figure that out, but yeah. Whip the wheel this way.
Oh, I think that's all my arms can do, though. It's a good thing Goldberg owns this car.
And he handled the car well, because that car's a handful. At one moment, he reached out and grabbed the camera lens at 40 miles an hour, which could have killed everybody in the car. Oh, God, please, sweet Jesus. Oh, Mama Chickapee. Oh, Mama Chickapee. So as far as under the hood options go, that's it for this piece of paper. I just want to point out a few other things because it's so original. You have the original 047 radiator, the original Carter AVS carburetor, original valve covers, exhaust manifolds, master cylinder. The original distributor is still in the car. This heater hose is original. The other one has been replaced. 7-blade clutch fan, still in the car. Everything in this car is original. Okay, back in our 1968 GTX, another cool thing that is optional that this car has is 486, the console, the center console. That is absolutely one of the neatest options. It has a jockey box in it for putting all your stuff in there. Royal had things he'd keep in there too, back in the day. And they paid $52.85 for it. The performance hood treatment, sales code 508, that's this area right here. Optional. Otherwise, this would have been completely yellow. How these louvers right here, these inserts, are painted black, and it's a matte black. And then you follow the trajectory off of the ends all the way down here, and then duplicate it on the other side. This whole center section is actually black, which I think serves two purposes. One, against the yellow, it looks super cool. Two is, it cuts down the glare, because shiny paint glares where matted paints don't. And that's why this wasn't shiny either, just in case you're wondering. You couldn't get a glossy black hood sport treatment. You had to get the matte black so it wouldn't reflect the sun as much. This is very unusual for 1968. Code 533, headrest restraint. Around January of '69 on production, headrests were mandatory. Prior to that, they were optional. So this was an option for headrests, and it was $43.90. They're not on the seats, but you can see right here, the headrest drop down here. The only other 68 we've had here that have the headrests on it are the folks' 1968 Dodge Dart GTS, the convertible that they bought new. They bought that car and paid extra because they wanted those headrests as well. 536, left-hand outside remote control chrome mirror. They paid $9.40 for that. You're not gonna have an aha moment, okay? It had it. It's inside the car. Actually, it's out in the parts pod right now because the owner of this car started to disassemble it several years ago and then sent it out to us to finish it up. It is drilled for it, as you can tell, and on the interior, if you look, you'll see the hole has also already been made for the remote control.
I've been working with my son a lot over the years. He's really come along well. I mean, he knows how to take these cars apart already. But I've coached him on how to take our cars apart, and we've got him out here working on Bill Goldberg's 70 446 pack Cuda, and he's doing a wonderful job. Since this car is in such nice condition, Eli is perfect to take this car apart. He's so good at being really careful and keeping everything organized. While Eli's got the car up on the hoist, he's going to do all the undercarriage, such as the bumpers, the front valance, headlights, grille, rear bumper, tail lights, things like that. He's going to do all the undercarriage first while it's up on the hoist. So after this, he'll drain all the fluids out, get the engine, K-member, rear end, and all the lower drive train components ready to come out. So the last thing is the headliner, and that is the dirtiest part of the job because who knows what's going to be up in there. I mean, mice have been up in there. There's going to be droppings, debris of all sorts, and all kinds of nests and bugs, and it's a filthy job up there. So I'm just glad I'm not doing it.
This is really interesting. 580 road wheels. Look here, styled, chrome plated. Styled, chrome plated. That was what the road wheel or Magnum 500 looked like in 1968. And it cost $97.30 extra. The road wheel that you see on this car is not a chrome plated. Sure, the inside portions are. But this wheel requires a beauty ring. This style of wheel, where this is a beauty ring and not all chrome, started in 1969. Fair enough, but we know the car's a 68, so obviously somebody put later wheels on it. No, they didn't. We have actual photographs of the car when it was new, when he brought it home from the dealership, the owner of it, and it had these wheels on it. Now, what's really freaky about that is how would you put wheels on it that aren't even out yet? I mean, I know the answer. It's Marty McFly. You know what I'm saying? You get in that little DeLorean crap box and you type in August 1st, 1969, first scheduled day of production for Chrysler's cars. Anywho, point being, Marty McFly helped him get these wheels. So that's a neat piece of trivia. Expedite manufacturer certificate, not sure. F7014 Red Streak tires, standard equipment. They called it out here, but you remember up at the top, it said it came with Red Streak tires. They're just calling it out down here on the Monroney sticker. Now, you add all that up, $3,966.95 is how much the car cost. $68 destination charge meant the total for the car was $4,034.95. And so that is the end of the sales code and the validation of our 1968 GTX. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a cooler car with better documentation that's an all-one owner, all right? So with that, I'm going to let Eli start on the disassembly of it. We'll bring one of the dry boxes around, start putting parts in it, and begin the process of restoring our 1968 Plymouth GTX 440 4-speed car. This has been Mopars with Mark on Graveyard Cars. So on Cindy D'Agostino's 1970 Challenger, this is really neat. A few years ago, when Dave Welding was alive, he owns ECS. He's the guy that we would buy all of our label information kits from and some other stuff. He had a conversation with Tony about this car, that we were doing it, and he wanted to order a system from him, an exhaust system from him. They had a nice long conversation, and because Dave knew Tony's history and Tony knew Dave's, and they were old friends and they'd been to the OE Nationals together, even competing, Dave wanted to make sure that the system we put on his car was actually factory as could be. In the case of an E-body, from the factory, the head pipes were welded to the resonators. And then the over-axle pipe and the mufflers and the hangers in the back and the tips, they were all put on after that. It wasn't clamped on like you saw our systems before, which is, it's perfectly fine. If you're working at home, you should do that. If you don't have access to a welder, you definitely should get the clamp-on style resonators. But in this case, Dave wanted to make sure that it was factory. So today we get to install that system, and this will be the first set of weld-on resonators we've ever done. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is install the left-hand head pipe. We're gonna slide it over the top of our little hanger here. This will go up into place here.
As kids, you know, pulling exhausts, I don't remember if they were welded or clamped. Usually the ones that were clamped had so much rust on them that we ended up cutting them anyway. So I only remember just cutting them off to get them out of the way. We always had to clamp them back on.
So now we're gonna install the right-hand head pipe. So slide it over our holder here. And then come in here. Nice. Now putting these resonators on is very crucial. You have the head pipe has to be bolted down into place, and then when you set the resonator up, you have to make sure that it's level to the earth, or it should be, even though the factory was pretty bad at it. We try to get it set exactly where it goes, and the trajectory coming off of it is perfect. Because remember, we're doing this for Philly steak, right? He's back there right now on his fourth sandwich. And all he's doing is calling me, blowing up my phone. When I go in there, my phone will have 20 messages. Hey, did you get those welded on that there? You know, those gotta be perfect. That's gotta be perfect coming out. He's nuts.
Tony's been taking these cars apart for so long and you know, paying attention to how they come apart, how they go together, that he's very attentive to the details.
So I've got to make sure they're perfect and they're exactly where they're supposed to be. One is total respect for ECS, who made the darn system. Two is for nutcase Tony.
I think Tony knows a lot more than Mark.
Now, the beautiful thing, Cindy doesn't care. Cindy's never going to look underneath that car and say, wow, that resonator's a little bit crooked. But Tony is, and he's going to live on it. There's a part coming up a little bit later when he visited with us where he goes berserk. I'll share that with you later. But trust me, these have to go on right. Perfect. God, that's beautiful. Look at how they're just identical. Once we have these resonators in place where they go, it's a tack weld process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We just need to make sure that when we take the head pipe back down, that resonator does not move, because where it's at is where we're going to do a solid weld.
You know, with the clampable exhaust systems, they're pretty much adjustable. You can get them in place, tighten them up as you go, and you've got, you know, some adjustment if it gets crooked. By welding them, they're there. You can't move them after you get them welded. If you know much about welding, the metal will actually move when you weld it. You weld on one side, and it will pull it one way. You weld on the other side, and it will pull it the other way. I actually learned that from welding. We were setting cabinets at OSU. And the guy was welding these big metal tube frames that we bolted cabinets to. And he had me hold a level on it, and he would run a bead, and it would go toward the weld he did. Or he would weld it on the other side, and it would go that way. It was the weirdest thing. Welding is an art that I wish I would have learned. I wish I wouldn't have cut that class in school.
Once we have them tack welded in place, we take the head pipes with the resonators fixed down to the body men. They are going to clean that area up where it needs welded, and they're going to do a 360-degree weld, a solid weld, so it can't leak. Do as good a weld as you can, probably much better than the factory ever did.
Shane's been working for Mark off and on for, gosh, 20 years. The guy is really good at what he does. He understands how metal moves. And there again, that's part of the art of it. Knowing how it moves, you know, what it takes to move it, the way you want it to move. I like to watch it. Like I said, I wish I wouldn't have cut that class.
After that, it comes back over and we can install the head pipes. Several seasons ago, we restored this beautiful, stunning quadruple black 1971 Cuda, which was our Phantasm tribute car. This car was a factory 340 4-speed. True or false? The movie car in the original Phantasm was also a 340 4-speed. If you're a fan of Graveyard Cars and Phantasm, shout out the answer. Stay tuned after the break. I'll let you know how you did. All right, welcome back, folks. How did we do on that one? One of my favorite cars, by the way. True or false? The original Phantasm movie car was a 340 4-speed. If you said true, good job, and it's absolutely right, and so was our tribute car. In fact, our tribute car was a numbers-matching 340 4-speed. However, it started life as tawny gold. We made it into a quadruple black. The additions we added over the Phantasm movie car were the shaker hood, rear window louvers, billboards, and rear spoiler.
By welding the exhaust, you're less likely to have a leak in the exhaust, where your clamps may not tighten securely the first time. Once the exhaust system heats up and cools down a couple of times, always go back and check the clamps, you know, after you drive it for a few hundred miles.
Okay, so now we're going to put the passenger side head pipe and resonator in place. So this will go up here.
You ever put a system like this in one of the cars that you've owned?
I might do it on my Charger, although my Charger's going to be all butchered up. I'm going to have burnt orange, tuck and roll velvet interior, but that might be kind of fun to do. Once the head pipes are installed, we know the resonators go where they go. We can put the over axle pipes in. See these little rivets right here? This is an ECS design hanger. Those are factory. If you look at an original system, that's what they were made like. That's what it looks like. So now we're going to put the muffler in with the over axle pipe built onto it. Again, it's got the 360 weld on it, just like we had to do on the resonators. But before we do, one thing I want to show you. These are factory heat shields. So these go in place before this. It keeps all of that heat off of the fuel tank, the sending unit, and all of the hoses. At the back here, you see the hanger bracket. That is the exhaust tip hanger. So the tip hanger actually not only holds the tip, but because it's fastened to the exhaust, it will also support it. So there are two hangers in this system. All right, are you ready? This goes over the axle pipe like yay.
That should slide right in.
So this S-hip will go in through here and comes all the way through like that. So with that in place, we're gonna go ahead and put the over axle pipe on this side. To there, beautiful. After the mufflers are set where they need to be set, this is all loose still, we can put the tailpipes on, the bright tips in 42. The Challenger exhaust tips is a dual exhaust tip, meaning it's one tip, but it has two outlets on it. Whereas the Cuda, this is all one piece on a Cuda. These are beautiful reproductions.
Who makes these ones?
Classic actually makes these. Classic Industries, yep.
Wow, yeah, those are pretty
Okay, and you have your Q clamp. That goes on there. Oh, we may have to open that up a little bit. So what he's putting on right now is a Q clamp. This is a factory clamp. A lot of the clamps that you buy today are regular muffler clamp. It's just a horseshoe and it has two nuts on it with a saddle. To make it easy on the assembly line guys going down the line, they had to be able to hold it with one hand, the exhaust system, and put the clamp on with the other. So they designed a Q clamp. So when you tighten this nut up, this is anchored on this side, it tightens up and crushes it. It's a one-man job. Doing it right, those are the ones you want to use. Let's go ahead and put the other tip on. Talk about precision. That's beautiful. When those are in place and aligned and we have the right trajectory and things are where they're supposed to go, we can walk back through the system and tighten everything down. We just want to make sure we're centered perfectly correct. So how does that feel on the flush side to side? Pretty good. Back here, I think that's it right there if you want to go ahead and tighten that down right there.
Okay.
Look at these. See this flat spot right here? It's rounded here. And it's flat right here. That's factory. They did that for clearance, road clearance. That's so cool. Love it. Let's snug it just a little bit, not all the way, but enough to keep the pipe from moving. Like a nice tight pipe.
I bet you do.
No muff too tough. Mufflers. All right, so with that, we need to let it down and set the in and out on the exhaust tips. Pete, you need to grow up, man.
Sorry, man.
The reason your camera's shaking, folks, is because there's a child behind it, and everything I say and do has some kind of sexual innuendo to him. So let's lower this thing down, see if we can stab that pipe in there a little deeper. He's gonna bring the car down to a height where I can see the exhaust tips. We wanna make sure that the exhaust tips reveal past the valance are the same from side to side, and to make sure when you look into them, they're not tipped just a little bit. This is our last chance to make any adjustments. So you can go ahead and lower it down. Okay, let's stop right there. All right. So I like the looks of that. If you want to crawl under there and tighten that down. Look good? Didn't move at all. Nice. So now that it's all tightened down, we have a beautiful, complete exhaust system that is as close to factory as the factory ever did.
This is our 1971 Demon, our 346-pack Mr. Norm's car, which is a great car. We don't do many A-bodies here. Everyone at home is gonna be so happy. Shane comes in and does the engine compartment, the sides of the cowl all the way down to where the door bolts up. Once he gets that done, I can go in there and start doing my paint work. One of the questions we get asked a lot is how do we seal these cars off, make sure they're not leaking or anything like that. These cars come back from the dipper. We prep the body the way it should be. We get a DP90'd. That protects the outside of the car from flash rusting, fingerprints, anything like that. Bodyman can start doing their body work. When it comes over to me or the bodyman, Shane's kind of taken over seam sealing them. Factory did a horrible job, just kind of slap it in there. Shane does like a nice happy medium when he does it. We seam seal where basically the two panels come together, whether that be a trunk floor and an inner wheelhouse. You know, that's always a great spot where any two panels where water can get in, that's where we seam seal to make sure water doesn't get in there and then create rust down the road. Once the car is completely done, Shane will go through and cavity wax the rockers. So those hard to reach spots, you have wands that'll go in there just to ensure you have no areas leaking water, rusting, and the car maintains the way it looks 10 years down the road. This is an FE5. It's a bright red. It's a gorgeous color. We don't do enough of it, so I'm super excited about that, something different. But the first thing we'll do is we'll seal it. It's finished off in 400. It's a solid color. You don't need to, but it just kind of ensures that you're not gonna have any sand scratches or swelling, any silliness down the road. So I'll seal it completely, let that flash, and then go in there and start applying the single stage. Now that it's sealed and completely dry, you really have to let that sealer dry because if you get on it too soon, it'll actually kind of re-soften it and run. I get the FE5 bright red. It's kind of a transparent color, so you're looking at 4 or 5 coats per coverage, but we get that process done, which is gonna take probably about 2 hours because if you try to get back on it too quick, you'll actually run it on the panels that were, to an apron, to a firewall. So it's 1 coat, let it dry, another coat, just take your time, get 4 or 5 coats on there, and then you're good to go. I'm excited to do the FE5 Rally Red. I haven't done it since Mark and Yelena's 1970 Cuda. I'm excited to get it done. It's going to come out beautiful. Tasty.